Hello, Warlords. Welcome to Saga Thursday, the show all about the Saga miniature skirmish game universe. I'm your host, Rodge, as always. I'm joined once again in this monthly episode with my good friend, Monty. How are you, buddy?
Good, Rodge. How about yourself?
I'm pretty good. I had a good month here. I got some things to report on. So
Nice.
last time... I didn't have too much to say myself, but somehow we always find things to talk about. This episode's going to be pretty laid back, I think. Pretty chill, talking about what we were up to. For a topic, we are going to talk about our inaugural Age of Hannibal warband rosters that we're thinking here. That was Monty's idea. So everybody thank Monty. I think that's a good idea. We'll kind of talk about our thought process a little bit, and talk about the new Age of Hannibal stuff is fun as always. So let's get into. Usually we do some news and events. I don't think there's any events creeping up there. One thing last time I kind of commented about Adepticon casually, and then later on I was thinking, I'm like, actually, I don't know anything. Monty, have you heard anything about that? So you aren't the main TO person, but
silent. No. But we did when in our little group, we have 4 people who help run the Saga shows. Someone asked, "Hey, has anyone heard anything?" And it was universal. It's silent.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough spot, organizing something that large that could be called off with, tens of thousands of dollars for the venue space, I'm sure. It's a tricky proposition.
Right.
They're subject to the rules of the Chicagoland area. So even if, they wanted to do it or felt comfortable or, throw it out there, whoever wants to come. The city of Chicago can be, no, that's not allowed. So, and I think, I don't know, did somebody post in Saga Storm and they were just wagering whether it's going to happen or not? Once I started thinking about it, I'm kind of doubtful actually it'll happen, or I don't know. I have an Infinity tournament in first week of May here that I have to start figuring out what I'm going to do there. So I'm about 1% of the budget, actually probably like 1/10% of the budget of Adepticon, and it's still kind of tricky figuring out how I'm going to swing that. But if you do know of any events coming up here on the docket, please let us know. Otherwise, Saga news, I don't know, no news for me, Monty. I know people have Age of Hannibal in their little midst now, right?
Right. Pretty busy with it. Just a real quick, this one I didn't get a report on. I was very excited. I think in the last couple weeks, Poland was going to do their Grand Melee, and their numbers were such that they were going to be able to go forward with it. A couple of the guys in the Discord server said they were going to maybe participate, and then for different reasons they couldn't make it. So I've heard nothing, and I don't think anything has made it onto the Saga page either. So if anyone knows anything about the Polish Grand Melee, I'd love to see pics or hear reports.
Yeah, that'd be great. Any kind of tournament footage or reports are welcome. I will say the Saga Discord is hopping with that kind of battle report action right now. I read quite a few different things. So if you want to get some Saga mojo flowing, head on over to the Discord. Okay, so events, news, not much. Comments from last time, not as many comments, but we do have a couple of things to talk about. So Panzer Philo, and I don't know if that's the right way to say this. Please chime in if you have a proper pronunciation. He says, I can confirm that the dice sets will be the same for all of antiquity. So we were kind of musing on that last time as far as, the old Saga budget concerns there. So once you get the dice, you should be able to get some good use out of them. Thank you for the confirmation. Comment number 2, and this one kind of relates to some comments we're talking about from the prior one. This is Ernest Reimer. Romans is Carthaginians. Get a box of each. Do some mixing of parts. Roman body with a Carthaginian shield would look cool. Then use the Carthaginian body with the Roman head and shield. There you go. 2 boxes equals epic saga.
Good one.
So I like that. And you can even, I mean, you're muddying the waters so much. You know, one game they're, you know, the Carthaginians are hitting the table. The next game, these are the Romans. I like it.
Right. Yep.
You know, they're looters. You know, you're behind enemy lines, deep in the campaign. You're going to use whatever you can get, no matter what side of the Mediterranean you're on. So, thank you for chiming in. And John Talby has this last one. So we were talking about undead here. And he recorded the undead video with me, so of course he will have a comment. The traditional way to beat undead is to do what you suggested. Focus all your efforts on one unit and smash until it's gone. If you leave even one alive, it'll grow back. A load of models with determination you can self-activate. And my comment cuts off here, but will work really well. So I think the comment there is spot on. And the determination of the, you know, is relating to the great kingdoms, basically. Really gives them an advantage, I think, in that respect, wouldn't you say?
Agree. That plus the firepower. Like, and that was my trick. Shoot, spell, charge, and then if you have to, throw in a hero charge. Because, like, getting a unit down to the last figure is a little tricky.
Yeah, I mean, once it's down to one guy, then... you know, the number of saves made you know, goes up exponentially, right, as you whittle them down, down and down, and you know, just that one guy left. You know, it's tough. It's going to take 2 or 3 charges to get that last guy. So
it can be that way. That is true.
That's the unwritten saga rules. So, all right, cool. Well, thanks for the comments, guys. Keep them coming. Let's jump into our hobby stuff here. So, Monty, you shared some beautiful imagery here of some Arabic fellows on horses. And this wasn't what I was expecting to see. No. What's the story with these guys?
Yeah, well, it's 2 things. Number one, my ancient stuff is still in the mail. I guess there was a little issue with sourcing from Victrix to the U.S., and Victrix had to shut down a little bit. So the place I ordered from, it's taken a while to get the stuff. So I needed to do something in the interim, and these were the ones I think I maybe mentioned where I made a trade, and I had traded these away, and then I remembered that I traded them away, and I thought, you know, I don't have much in the way of Age of Crusades, and I know those nice footsore figures are sitting in my buddy's collection, so I got them traded back, and rebased them, like with the oval bases. They had been on squares, and then because I don't have anything else to paint, I mean, no other projects, so to speak, I fired up these guys, and I decided that since I've done the mutts 3 other times, I wanted to go mounted heavy, and I wanted to go very colorful, and so that's what you're looking at here. And at the very last stop, like I usually use shield transfers, I just like the speed and like, I mean, it's just like I can't copy like what they do on those. But so I decided to like do a test case. I took one out and I kind of did the scribble a little bit, and then I decided to do a repeating color theme because there's so much variety in all the colors here that I really felt like I had to bring them all back together, kind of pull them together. So I found a black and tan color theme and just repeated it, put it in the banner, did it by hand. And, you know, when I was done, you got to always wait. And then you look at it, you're like, yeah, that works, I think. Yeah, I think it works.
Yeah, it definitely works. It ties them all together. And, yeah, I guess from this photo, you know, it's kind of a toss-up as far as those shields. You know, they could have been, you know, some kind of shield transfer, you know, from from this range, what I'm looking at, yeah, I think you did a great job. I wouldn't have known, because that's kind of what they look like. I'm sure you can get them a lot more detailed, perhaps.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they look great. And that's a great comment about tying them together with kind of just a neutral black and the tan. I think these look great. And
thanks, man.
So I have one kind of general. Well, first let's go through the history here. So I'm going to share these photos. Let's go down memory lane. So this is the fourth Mutata Wheel warband that you painted.
Yeah.
Sick bastard. I haven't even painted that many Saga warbands, so.
You could file this under "Stop me before I paint again."
Yeah.
4 is kind of ridiculous. I don't know how it happened. I actually thought it was 3, and I was looking in my Google folder. I'm like, oh my gosh, nope, it's actually 4. I've lost track.
We've got version. These are labeled 1, 2, 3, 4. So is that the chronological order?
Yes.
So when was the first warband completed?
Okay,
Do you know?
I gotta think for a second. The first one, this would be about 2014.
Wow, 6 years
Yeah.
ago. Okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know, when did Crescent and Cross come out? Was it
I
around
could
then
be
or
off
even
that
earlier? I
year.
feel like it was even earlier for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Got some square bases in there, I see.
Yeah. That
Rebel.
was the days of square bases, the heathen square with round. It was, it's what I knew. You guys have helped train me up, but I didn't know better back then. So.
Okay. Well, these guys look great. Nice cohesive scheme with the black and the whites going throughout. Very cool. So I'm guessing you sold those guys at some point. And probably did a couple different warbands, and then, so how did you come back the second time?
Yeah, so footsore, like I got a really good deal on a bunch of footsore Arab foot, and I had, you saw the other one's a pretty big mix. This one I just thought, hey, look, I was new to painting footsore, so I wanted to try their models. I wanted to build a whole warband about it, and then I decided to go with, like, as you can see here, a mostly foot build. And so that was like my impetus here. And then you can see this was one of my early cracks at doing Arabic scribe and the hand painted shields. It's a bit laborious, but it's very bright. I'm now looking and I'm like, holy cow, this is super bright. But I think that was what I was going for back then. I took this one to Adepticon, and this army flamed out. And I am not exaggerating to say, like, in all my practice games, Rodge, I was smashing my buddies, every build, everyone I faced, I was smashing them to bits. And that luck train dried up, and I got to Chicago, and I just went down hard. It was a very painful experience.
That's awesome. Yeah, great colors here. Yeah, definitely very bright whites, yellows, baby blues, and pinks. Yeah, very cool. And it looks like we're running the NAPTA, the fire throwers, if I'm not mistaken.
That's where it all
there
came apart. That's where it all
just
fell
kept
apart.
rolling ones.
Yeah, version 1, my buddies, the people in the tournament were making their saves, so I wasn't inflicting fatigue, and then I was rolling ones, killing my my flame guy, and then inflicting fatigue on my unit. It was disastrous. I was losing games in like 3 turns. I'd be almost tabled when it went that bad. Anyway.
Oh boy. So that's awesome. Do you know what year that was, or how much later?
This might be 2016 or 17.
2 or 3 years later. Okay.
Yeah.
So
years.
after that performance, I'm assuming you just had to unload them immediately.
I did. I was super unhappy. They went right in the bin. That's the punishment for when an army lets me down so badly.
Awesome. Well, the foot guys were gone. We're bringing it back with version 3 here. So these guys are mostly foot, but I do see a plethora of camels. That is awesome.
Yeah. Right.
So what What were the circumstances of this build, Monty?
So, you saw my first one was a mix of like black, but it was kind of a very high contrast black. So I wanted to go for more subtle. I wanted to go for all black. And then this was my one twist. Like, I don't know why I got this in my head. I'm like, if they're fanatics, everyone has to have their face covered. That was just the style that I chose. So I did actually do a lot of green stuff to wrap up every single figure and make sure they all were covered up like this. So that was it. Just looking for kind of a different, like everyone has to wear black, kind of uniformity. And I was pretty happy with it at the finish line. But then I got a really good offer. Well, one other thing too. I briefly had the crazy idea, Rodge, of I wanted to have an all camel Matataweya build, but
Wow. Yeah.
after painting, 12 camels plus a warlord, I was like, oh, good Lord, I think this is ridiculous. What am I doing? So I did quit. I quit it at 3 points of Hearthguard.
Wow. That's amazing. These guys look great. Interesting choice with the red spears to get some color.
Exactly. It was like, you know what I mean? You're painting and I'm in there and I'm like, uh-oh, oops, we're sliding to monochromatic here. So, and that was the shields only coming at the very end. So I started popping in the bright red shields to just like kind of bring that back.
Mm-hmm. So these are transfer shields as well?
Yes. Little big shield transfers.
From this image and then your new image, like the design, I'm sure you've seen your share of shields and know what they should, quote unquote, should look like. But yeah, these look, the shields look good on your new guys. They look pretty much the same as these ones. So save yourself $7.
Exactly.
From a time perspective, was it quicker to do the transfers, you think?
Yeah, it is. I've done this for so long. I'm pretty fast. You get the scissors, you start rocking it out. The slowest part is you just have to make sure you get a really solid white base. Mm-hmm. And if you screw that up, if it's gray, if it's spotty, if you don't get it white, you just kind of like take down the effect. So once you get it up to a white base, you pop it on, you seal it, you then muddy it up, and you do. So I forgot, maybe the time spread isn't quite as big as I imagined it to be, because then I do go around and you need to like blend it in. You need to like the shield transfer almost never completely covers the shield. So then you've got to paint the transfer and the shield together. You got to go in and work the white and make it look like a whole. So yeah, it takes a little bit of work, but you know what? I have time, and I was waiting and waiting. I'm like, well, you got the time, Monty, so do it. So thanks for that, though, because you know what? This is my own perspective. Like, I know how this is like perfection in my eye, and this is the bar in my mind's eye. And then when I go to do it, I can't quite get this, right? But I will say, personal taste, the smaller I make the script, like even to the point where it's almost just like stylistic and it's not real, the happier I kind of am, because then it looks stylistic. And if I try to make it really big and it isn't as smooth and gorgeous, you know what I mean? Then I'm looking at my stuff and I'm like,
Mm-hmm. You're not a calligrapher, Monty. Don't beat yourself up.
And my paintbrushes, right? I wonder what the secret is. I know there are people who can hit like the mark, but I don't know if they're using like really good micron pens, or they just have done this long enough. Maybe it's practice. Maybe that's it.
That's a good question. Have you used the micron pens?
So just a little bit. Them? I was going to say, when you look at the linen banner that I painted for my 4th version, so one trick I did, which I've never done before, I had a micron pen and I dug around. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, I got one of these. And I simply wrote just over, I created like a shadow over all the white Arabic script. And so what it did was I did one and I'm like, holy cow, that pops. That little black like shadow around it just really makes it pop. So yeah, the micron pen has its place, and I probably should use it just a little bit more.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of dabbled with it from time to time, and like on my original, the Men of Wessex. I remember on the shields using the micron pen to separate like the quarters and stuff like that. And
Nice.
on like an old Warhammer army, I remember like using it to like blackline the like models, instead
Wow.
of in the cracks and stuff. Like,
Right.
it, don't do that. Like,
Don't
yeah,
do that.
it is really stark. It's like super black, like blacker than most washes or even like the Reaper liners. I mean, it was really black. I was using a black, but I don't know. I haven't used it for a while. It's kind of like a different skill to use the pen. So like, I don't know, you might as well just get really good with if you got a good brush.
Bingo.
That's kind of what I decided was easier in the end.
Yeah.
So you said you covered up the faces on here. Was that pretty easy, pretty quick? Were you good with the green stuff?
Exactly. Once I kind of got the hang of it, I am not a big green stuff guy, but I've gotten better over the years. Little tips and tricks, wet your hands, your fingers, have the right set of tools. So all it really was just cutting a really small strips and just make sure you kind of, give them a face covering. And it would probably, when it was done, there were a few that you could look at and you could tell, but there were quite a few that I was like, yeah, that turned out good. That did the trick.
Cool. Yeah. Sounds like you did it right. And you must have saved some time there for not having to paint any faces, right? You probably
exactly. That's
got
true.
to skip eyeballs, if you do it right.
Right. Oh yeah. You can't even get a pen in. I mean, you could try. And again, some guys can do it. I don't know how they manage, but that just anytime you try to get in there, even if I'm just getting the bridge of the nose, it seems like I first touch the upper part and then I touch the lower part, then I get the nose. I'm like, damn it. And then you got to get the black in there and clean it up. Always.
I like the sound of that. I got those black tree Arab metals here, so I'm strongly considering scarfs. There, I'm a pretty mean green stuffer, like you said.
Yeah.
You just do a big blanket of green stuff, let it almost cure, cut it with scissors, wrap it around, little scarves on everybody. I think that's a solid idea.
I love the curing trick. I got to try that.
Yeah, it is easier, like you said. The wrong way to do it is like put a blob of fresh green stuff on them and try to like sculpt a scar. That's like I made some ponchos on some Warhammer models, like my first green stuff, and that's like what I did. And then eventually I'm like, oh yeah, if you can just make whatever it is separately and then just stick it on there like that, that's how you're supposed to do it, actually.
Bingo.
Most of the time. So cool. Well, these guys look good, and I kind of had a question.
Sure.
And we see the styles of these are very different as far as the paint and stuff. So as far as like the Mutatawia go, do they have certain colors that they are supposed to be or stick to historically, or is it kind of with most warbands you can just do whatever, but
right,
is there some research, or two of your warbands were kind of black, and you were talking about fanatics, so like is that part of the lore, is dressed in black, or
exactly the face covering and the all in black? I mean, that's not really out of the pages of history. It's more of a educated guess. I mean, if you're, you use the word fanatic of any kind, it's like, less joy in life, less color, so that was just a version. The truth is, like, what I understand of the Mutatawia is that they were raised from, across the kingdom, and they were very dedicated, just like, fanatics like they're described. So, I mean, they could be in white, they could be in browns, yellows, they could be kind of boring stuff. But some of the brighter stuff, I should explain, I was also like at times like porting a single Arab army as Moors sometimes, right? I could slide it over and they could be Moors.
My follow-up question. Is there something about this color scheme that differentiates it from the other two, or, I know the troop types are different, but essentially you've got this army here, can you use it for all three in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, look, no one is going to get too bound up about it, right? And the truth is, like at this scale, like if you had this and you go, like let's pretend we're sitting at the table and my buddy's like, seriously, these are your Moors? And I'd say, oh yeah, these are the Berber, men who come in from the deep, part of the desert. And of course, being Berbers, they're all in black. And that's the way this group of 50, 75 guys dresses. Sure, and then, you know what? And then my buddy would be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. It's like, you just have to find a slim reed and then hang your explanation on it.
There you go. Correct. Like you say, no one is going to not play you, regardless of what, we're talking about here and whether, it fits or not. But, well, I think the latest version, these colorful guys, I mean, obviously, it seemed like they could work for all three, no questions asked.
Yeah,
and then,
I think so. I think so.
Even the dark robe guys, no issues there. Okay, cool. Well, that was a fun trip down memory lane.
Or crazy lane. What am I doing?
Yeah. What's going to happen with these guys, Maya?
I think I'm going to hold on to them because they've been very slow. I have not been kind of production painting, like where I crank them out, like with an eye towards selling them. I don't really want to paint them a fifth time, so these might stay. These might stay.
You don't want to, but you will if you have to, right? I mean, okay. Well, that is awesome. I'm glad you were able to keep busy. And like yourself, my miniatures are still en route. So I have that box of Numidians and actually my Age of Hannibal books and dice. Order them through my local game store. So they have yet to arrive, but there's no big rush. And even if they had showed up, I would have still been working on these disgusting robots here, Monty. So this is unfortunately not Saga related, but it is painting related.
Yeah,
so
beautiful.
Yeah, thank you, buddy. So I was very busy. So I said October was going to try to be a painting month, and we're in the middle of October. Well, not quite towards the end, but it's been very productive. So I've been painting Infinity models. So they've got a new edition out as well. Somehow they're always linked up with Saga as far as whenever Saga has a big release and I get really excited, there's a new Infinity release that is like, hey, don't forget about us. But yeah, so I painted up. These are some cyborgs. The skull heads are conversions. They're not strictly Terminator robots. The original heads are more of like Johnny Five robot style head versus a Terminator skull, but you got to do the rule of cool.
Yes.
Monty, so I put the skulls on there. So
that's brilliant.
Yeah, so a couple pertinent points I think we can discuss here. So I use the oil washes on these guys. So one thing I use mostly metallics on everything. So I think, metallics, they're slightly different, obviously, than the chromatic colors. So, but oil washes work really great. So most of these got just a dark purple or a dark blue wash on different parts, and that kind of formed the base. And I went from there. So I think the oil washes. So I think these are probably going to be like in my repertoire or like the standard kind of way of painting. I think is probably going to be these oil washes to start with. So I'm really, I want to get those Numidians and I want to try to paint some horses with the oils because I think it'll work really, big wide areas on there. I think you could get some really good results for not a lot of effort. And the painting on these guys went pretty darn quick. So I've got like we're about 3 weeks in, and I painted 13 of these models to this standard. So that's like almost like a, an army in this game. And so I'm doing 3 to 4 models a week. And it's funny because 2 years ago, I painted another Infinity Warband, and I was using the airbrush for the first time. And I was following the Angel Heraldez, or do you know him, Monty? Has his fame spread to the Saga universe?
I don't think I do.
So the Infinity models have that really distinctive airbrush style.
Okay.
So he kind of like, won't say he invented it, but he gave them their style of airbrushed models for Infinity. So it's weird. So I use the airbrush, but with all the detail work and the edging, it would take me like a week to do one model. And
wow,
I can do 3 or 4 of these per week. I think I like these better than like the official paint jobs. And some of like those paint jobs I did were on the Combined Army. Like they look exactly like the official paint job. And I like this style better, and it's a lot quicker. So
I gotta say, I don't play Infinity, but looking at these 4 figures, I want to play Infinity. That's how good this is. And just as someone who doesn't really know your tricks of the trade here, the way that you have the purple kind of subtle cropping up, like I can see like a little peak of purple on the metals, a peak of purple on the other metal, purple on the I don't know, the human, maybe humanoid.
Yeah, so they've got like pink metallic skin.
Yeah,
with some
this
blue
is
and
just
purple.
really clever, and I have no idea exactly how you got this effect. Like if you sat me down and said, "I want you to copy this," I would be staring, and I wouldn't know what to do. So, credit to you, Rodge.
Cool. Wow. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Starts with those washes. So
Okay.
now the one thing is the washes you can kind of clean them up if you make mistakes, but you can definitely like put on too much and like permanently stain or mess it up. So they're not. I need some more practice with them, but because you got to thin them down with some spirits and stuff like that. Because if I don't know, so I'm using them primarily as washes, and if you look on the Discord, JP recently did the Herkus Monte, where he kind of did like glazes with oil paints on those.
Yeah,
Do you know which ones?
I do, and I was curious to try his technique because he said it was zenithal, and then he kind of described it to me, and I want to do a test. I have an idea for my galls, and I want to do 2 or 3 versions of skin and see which ones are fast and look good. So I want to try his version.
Yeah, so I'm keen to give that a try too. I think that is very different than the wash technique. I mean, you're kind of like painting. I mean, because you can like literally paint with the oil too, but it's so different from acrylic. Like you're like literally like pushing the paint around, and it's like making little lumps on the mat. Like it's it has texture to it, and you can push it around, and I don't know, it's interesting. One thing I kind of decided was, now, like my last Romans were dipped, in the old school, like enamel, the antique walnut satin. And I think there's no way I would do that again, because the oils kind of do the same thing, basically, with a lot less headache, and you can control it. And I think I can recreate the dip on if I want to do some more last Romans to fill them out to do the Byzantines. Like I need more levy models basically to make a legitimate Crusades army out of my Romans. So I kind of actually been thinking that might be the next thing I do in Saga, is to finish out and make a viable Crusades army with the Romans, but using like a brown oil wash instead of the dip, because if I was going to have to dip it again to get him to match, I'd be like, I don't know. I can't be bothered with that, obviously. So, hang up hang up the dip, break out the little tube, head down to Michael's, get the tube of oil wash. So that is kind of one thing I did on these guys. The other thing, which probably isn't really that pertinent to historical painting, but was adding little tiny white dots to just pop the highlights. So you can see it. It's really obvious on the sniper kind of robot if you kind of look in close. So there's little pops of white. And if you look at like a lot of commission models or like, generally gameplay models, but to a high standard, a lot of times like the quote unquote pros, if you look at it, they'll do this same thing where you just pop them. So wherever you have like two armor panels coming into a corner, you can just pop, put a little white dot there. And
Okay.
It really makes it pop, really makes it look a lot better than what, I think when I look at it, I'm like, oh, I look like a genius, but all I did was just wash them and then put a couple dots, and it looks way better than it should or have any right to. So the trouble is on like the larger areas, there's no obvious place to put those little dots. So I don't, you could put it on belts or, pommels. I'm thinking about sword and board guys. Where would you put these dots? But I think you work them in there. But give it a try. Get your white dot on.
Nice.
So 2 ideas for folks, and I'm probably going to keep working on these robots here, get a finished, playable warband, even though I won't be able to play it for a while, and then hopefully my Numidian cavalry arrives, so it'll be either those guys or the Romans as far as what I'll be up to next in the realm of Saga. All right, buddy.
Nice.
Well, Bonnie, the new edition of Infinity, it's about 2% easier to learn. They slimmed down.
2%, huh?
Yeah.
That is nice looking, though.
Yeah, it looks good.
That looks super cool.
Okay. We are going to talk about some games that we played. So both of us. Yep. Did you play a game? I guess I didn't confirm.
So yeah, last month was a pretty slow month. There was a lot going on with the weather being good and a lot of family stuff. So I did get one game in, and it was a good one. So I got one Age of Hannibal.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Now I remember. You texted me the juicy details here. Why don't you elaborate on that for our listeners at home?
Yeah. So it was the first time for both of us. So, you got to take all these results with a little grain of salt. I was running the Gauls because that's what I intend to paint up and play. And my buddy Brent was doing the Epipyrite Greeks with the Sarissas.
Cool.
My build was, yeah. So we were thinking like, defense versus offense, who will prevail? I did a warlord and a chariot, 2 points of mounted Hearthguard in 2 units. I did levy javelinmen, and then I wrapped it up with 3 points of warriors in units of 8. Nothing fancy, no shenanigans, just kind of a vanilla build to just see what we could do. The Greeks had 3 units of Sarissa. They did have an elephant. They had a unit of levy javelinmen and 4 mounted Hearthguard. And so both of us kept the terrain kind of off to the side, kept the field pretty open. But just, I don't know why. Sometimes I like, okay, what am I going to do? Like, so I put a piece of rocky ground dead center, like for a place to maybe tie up some troops and maybe
break up up the phalanxes.
Exactly, because I got the speed and he doesn't. So right in the middle. And just interesting point, because we were doing ruses too. We thought, why not? My buddy pulled out a ruse card that let him pull from the center closer to his half. And I was like, well, okay.
Nice.
It was good in theory. But because we were using ruses, I had one that let me move all of my foot units that didn't shoot. They all had determination for turn one. So that was kind of a nice opening. I got literally like my whole army, up and moving across the table on turn one with some like buffs that if he punched me, it was going to be bloody. And so he was player 2. He loaded up, he kind of moved forward, and he kind of, because my board had some stuff on it, he wasn't too sure about it. He kind of moved his stuff up and then just took some pot shots with his Sarissa units, the ones that were within S. Is that
Sure,
right?
yeah.
It would not be me. Yeah, it was S. It's S.
They move short and then poke.
Exactly.
Shoot short.
Poke me.
So
Right.
8 inches.
And so I rolled out of those, but I got to tell you, Rodge, I was kind of sweating. I was like, I do not want to just sit here turn after turn and have these Sarissas, poke, 4 dice, 4 dice, 4 dice. Over time, that's, you're going to start bleeding out. So I got really lucky with my opening turn 2 rolls, and I had a full battle board, and I had some rares to spend. So I stacked it and racked it and went right in. And I got to remember here real quick, just looking at these plays, I know I had Gaulish Wave, which lets you activate like a unit plus 2 other units. So what I was trying, I don't know if it was really successful, but I was trying. I tucked my Javelin men in with my warriors. And so with Gaulish Wave, they'd move up, they'd shoot the target, and then I would try to use my 2 other units to charge that target unit. So that was the general idea, and it's pretty efficient, 2 dice to move 3 units. Then after shooting up the key unit, then I went in, I got to think about this for a minute. I had Power of the Ancient Gods, which is like super good for loading out your dice. I had Gaulish Fury. This was really key. This one I think is going to be probably an every turn play if you're the Gauls. Gaulish Fury is the one that lets you get 2 attack dice, 3 if you're the attacker, and if you take 2 fervor, your opponent loses the benefits of solid cover. And so when I came in on the charge, my buddy was like, if I close ranks and I shed 4 dice, I am going to lose the 4, 5, and 6. So he said, I'm not closing ranks. And that's the kind of thing I think you can force with Gaulish Fury over and over again. And
Just
that was
leave
huge.
it up there, yeah.
Right. So I played it for the dice. I played Power of the Ancient Gods. I think I snuck in 1 more. And I was like re-rolling 2 of my attack dice. And when I was done, I wiped out that Sarissa unit to a man. They blew up. They shot fatigue. A Saga dice goes down. And because I had Vivictus up and I won the melee, he had to roll for the units that are near the one that lost the melee, and he popped a couple more figures, which softened him up even further. My second charge goes in, hits the other unit, and when it's all done, I knock them below 4 figures. And so here we are, 2 charges. Turn 2, he's down 2 Saga dice. So the bleeding was just, it had started. He did come back. I want to share one kind of cool thing. If you're the Groculide, this is a pretty cool play he broke out on me.
All right.
He used he used Legacy of the Ancestors to give resilience because he had a rare, to a Hearthguard unit, and then he charged like a weakened unit, beats them up, and then with Hammer and the Anvil, he won another melee and let those Hearthguard charge a second time with their resilience and no fatigue and beat up another unit. So I thought that was very efficient. Like, you're trying to imagine in your mind, how am I going to use hammer and anvil? And I just thought the play of like your Hearthguard, your mounted Hearthguard, because of the range and the high armor class, and then also the resilience, makes a really good hammer and a second charger. So that was a very clever play, and I rolled well on my saves. Otherwise, it could have been bad for the Gauls. But honestly, pretty quickly after that, it just like the Greeks just bled out. They were down to 2 dice in short order, and we just said, "Whew, okay, let's we can pause here and talk about it. Go get a beer." So.
Wow, that's awesome. The fury of the Gauls. So when you were blowing through that, were your guys like maxed out on their fervor then? It's kind of weird because they could be maxed out. They're like vulnerable, but they really that just means you can't use more abilities, right?
Bingo.
There's nothing. There's still Hearthguard or Warrior. They're still sitting there ready to fight you, kind of at their full strength. But I guess if you had abilities, say for the next turn to you, you wouldn't be able to use them in defense, right? So I guess did you have to like blow your load
no,
with those guys? Or?
So it's a good point. So here's my like one game experience. My mounted Hearthguard, because there was an elephant, they were second rank. My warlord in the chariot was second rank. So what happened was my warriors go in, create havoc, get loaded up with fervor. They're kind of beat up. Then he chews them up in the counterpunch. His warlord, his elephant, kind of got snagged into the rocky ground. He was, kind of got out of the battle. And at that point, once the elephant was kind of out of the battle, I'm like, okay, go. Sent the Hearthguard in. So my point is, because you're moving so fast and furious, if your units are one shot, but they're doing things like taking a whole enemy unit out for the cost of like one warrior, that's what I cost in that first charge. Then I didn't mind that they were kind of loaded up on fervor, and it was fine. I used all my dice, and I generally, like, once it was really going here, after that first turn, I generally didn't have anything much on my board, like for the counterpunch. I know you should, but oh my gosh, stacking these things, and the attacks were so powerful. That's just how I played them the first time, and I didn't find fervor really slowing me down.
Sure. Oh, that's good. That's interesting. Like, if you kind of think about it, you could almost see, Saga, there was like a lot of tit for tat, just naturally the way you expose yourself with some fatigue on the next guy's turn. So that unit's probably going to be a target. Well, you could also see leaving those, the spent Gallic units and going after the fresh ones maybe, and then taking those guys down if the board is kind of empty or whatever. And then when the counterattack comes, you have to use your spent, you can only, I'm assuming some of these abilities you want to use more fervor, but if you're already kind of maxed out or
exactly.
So you could kind of try to weaken the line or so, just playing against them, it could be kind of interesting. We'll see.
Yeah, it could be a tit for tat. Like for example, so I'm raving about Gaulish Fury, but the trick is you need to take the 2 fervor. You got to have the space to take the 2 fervor, so your opponent loses the benefit of solid cover. If you're already fervored up, then you can't do that. I mean, that only works really with a pretty fresh unit. So, good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to get some more games in.
Yeah. Oh yes. Looking forward to that for sure.
Tell me how the Silver Fox runs it, Monty.
I will.
Give me those details. All right. So you said you played Brent. So I'm assuming that was a local game.
That was a local game.
Cool. Well, I got in a game, Monty. The last garage game of the year here against Zach. So this was last Sunday. So this was about 6 a.m., about 40 degrees or so Fahrenheit. I gotta look that up and see what that is in Celsius for folks. But it wasn't too bad at first, but then a game takes like 2 hours. So after 2 hours, no matter how many layers you got on, like it, I was doing jumping jacks. And all right, so 40 degrees Fahrenheit is about 4 or 5 degrees Celsius.
Ooh,
for those folks. So yeah, we were getting some Age of Vikings in, just trying to get in the groove. It'd been a while. He wanted to play Vikings, so I used my Eastern Heathens as the pagan Rus, Monty. So
nice.
That was fun to play these guys, and we played a scenario. I just closed the page. Desecration. So I'll talk a little bit about the pagan Rus and then a little bit about Desecration. So have you played as the pagan Rus, Monty? Have you run?
I have.
Yeah.
I have. I like the pagan Rus.
Yeah, pagan Rus. They're good. They're solid. I guess playing against them, I was always like, these guys are bent. Like this is busted. This isn't fair. But when you play as them, it is tricky. There's decisions to make on the board, and you really can't do everything. And so, like the frozen wind is really good, but I never used it. You know, it's 2 dice. I mean, White Wolves is really good, but then, you know, the other abilities, Black Bears and Blood Feud, like on their own, you can't. I mean, they're just not. I mean, they're not moving anything in your favor necessarily. You're both going up, or you're reducing your attacks for defense. So you really need Wrath of the East, and you know, so that's 2 dice, and it doesn't do anything on its own. And you got a combo with these. So I had a lot more respect for the board playing it, and I wasn't always successful in navigating when to use Wrath of the Beast, the Blood Feud. One thing I was using was a levy unit, just to see if, I don't know if there's any synergies or anything. And so I actually thought I just talked trash about Blood Feud and Black Bears, but I think those abilities actually kind of work with the levies, because you take your armor up to 4, and you know they're just going to be sad. You know, you can't kill levies with armor 4. Like it's just
no, you cannot.
And so if you take their armor up, like you don't have any attacks anyways. So who cares? You know, if their armor goes up. And then the same thing with Black Bears. You take your attacks down, you know, who cares? You weren't going to kill anything anyways, but your levies armor 4. If you use them both, you have armor 5 levies without anything else. And I guess if you did have Wrath of the East going, then you could be maxed out on your whatever attack dice too on top of it somehow. But yeah, so I think you could use the levies in the Pagan Roost. I guess I've never.
Yeah.
No one around here has tried that. I did take 2 units of 6 Hearthguard, so I think it's a good Hearthguard army. Because White Wolves can always keep you pretty safe. But yeah, it was good. I guess playing it again, I'd probably try to start with Frozen Wind, and then once, like the Wrath of the East, once there's some fatigue out there to play with, then that's like completely brutal. You know, so using it before there's any fatigue, I mean, it's still pretty good, but it's not the complete demoralizer that it can be. But yeah, we had fun. We were playing Desecration. So do you remember what that one is, Monty?
Desecration, where you're trying to break objective markers.
Yeah, you're trying to kill them. Now the issue is you don't get any points for killing them. They just cap you out.
Right.
And so I was thinking about the strategy on this one, and I think you just go for the enemy. You have to win the battle first before you worry about those things. And they roll twice as many defense dice as your attacks. So even if you try to like assassinate one or something, like it might, you know, there's a good chance it probably won't work. Like it's going to take a couple different cracks at it. So my advice is go for the enemy, kill them, and then somehow if you can use position to try and, because there's always going to be one easy one to try and get. If you can block that easy one, but keep yours intact, or you got to kill one of theirs, but keep your easy one alive is what I'm trying to say here. The thing with Saga is a lot of times it's almost a draw anyways. So you could actually play it to a draw, but you killed one, and then you unlock the extra VPs. So you win. So I don't know. It's an interesting scenario.
I like it. I like the objective scenarios a lot, and that one has a nice. That to me is like that little wild card. I played a game where my buddy and I, the kills were tight, the management was tight, the Saga dice were tight, and then as he was trying to break my objectives, I was making my saves
Yeah.
over and over again. And the game comes, it's like, can I crack any of these? I'm like, well, maybe once we leave the battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, sometimes it can be like that. And I've also, to your point, Rodge, I've also a few times against one of my buddies who has really good luck at cracking. Like even with shooting, I mean, you should not be able to crack them with shooting, right? You shouldn't. But he's pulled that on me, and in my games with him, sometimes I get too obsessed with breaking his army, and then when I run around and I try to crack one, it's too late, and then he shoots at one and it's busted. Win, So it's pretty tense. It doesn't really. I haven't seen it get out of hand. It's always very close, and like you said, someone kind of nips out the victory at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's tough to get those things. So in our game, Zach, he had one. We had a big fight in the middle. He had a chance he had one run basically at it and couldn't do it. And then me, we rolled a dice, went an extra turn because I did 3 cracks at it on the last turn and didn't do it. So if it would have ended, it would have been a draw. But then we went another turn, and then it took 2 more cracks, and then it was on the 5th one I killed one.
Wow.
So it was just like a minor victory in the end. But one thing I do like javelins for this scenario because you just like walking nearby it, you might as well just throw, if you have some shot, just throw it at there, see if you get lucky. And then if you do fight it, at least you get a +1 to hit. So like you're getting a couple more hits on it than maybe you would otherwise because you can't use Saga abilities, if I recall correctly. So
you are correct.
It's interesting, good scenario. You don't have to.
I like it.
Yeah, you don't have to do a lot of math with this one.
Nope.
You can figure out who. Well, you just won right there, or like because there's that other one where they're worth different points and stuff for attacker and defender, and I just look, guard the loot is that one, and I'm like, it's too much math. I could get the math problem wrong in the beginning, and then I'm anyways. So that was a good game, fun last garage game of the year. We start out strong and we're like, we could do this for the rest of the winter. And then he's like, hey, do you have a hat or something? Do you have any gloves? I'm like, I got you, buddy.
That's psychological warfare. You keep your opponent overly cold.
He's like, I had to give him like a cup of hot coffee. Just press your hands up against this hot ceramic mug. So that's fine. I'll have to see if I can get some other games in, or if I want to be on Tabletop Simulator from here on out. I'm not sure. But okay, that was a good game. And should we get into the topic at hand here? So you talked about the Gauls already. So you're going to be building a Gallic warband. And you mentioned your build before. Do you want to say that again, and then maybe say if you're deviating from that after your first game, or what? However you want to present this information. Monty.
So my build is going to be based on. I'm going to have quite a few options because I bought a lot. The NWS Wargaming Store. They're a U.S. online company. Their prices on Victrix are crazy good. I can't find anyone cheaper. So I grabbed, I should say just real quick, like the makeup is 2 boxes of Naked Fanatics. That's 24 figures a box. That's 48 figures.
Boom.
I have a box of Unarmored Warriors, so that's another 48. And then I did get 2 boxes of Chariots, which give you like 3 Chariots in each box. Plus, this is the amazing thing, Rodge. They give you severed heads. They give you a Druid figure. They give you a female Boudica. Could be a Warlord figure. So, I mean, they are loaded out. So what I kind of worked backwards from was from the website. I'm like, I want to buy these things, and from this, my plan is to do right now 1 point of levy, 2 points of Hearthguard using the chariots, and then 3 points of warriors and the warlord in a chariot. So that's the thought. I might ditch the levy because there is a play on the Gallic Warband where you can let your ordinary warrior units move up and shoot. Actually, any unit that doesn't have an ability to shoot using before the wave can pretend like they're, have javelins for a turn. So it makes me wonder, like, do I need levies?
Yeah.
But you know what? To start, I got plenty of figures, so that's what I'm going to do. So my initial build would be the 2 units of 2 chariots. And the thing that I think is interesting about like chariots, and it would probably apply to like the Hearthguard options for the Gauls, is that I think it takes good advantage of, I'm going to pronounce it wrong, Vivictus. And Vivictus is the one where if you win the melee, then after casualties, every enemy unit with an S has to make a roll for each fervor that's sitting on your unit. And if they roll a 6, they suffer a casualty. So the cool thing is with Resilience 1, as long as I kill 1 figure and I don't lose a chariot, I'm hoping I don't. I mean, maybe I would, but as long as I don't lose a chariot, I'm going to win that melee. So I think I have a pretty good chance of like a chariot going in and winning with a Vivictus. I also think the chariot Hearthguard is great for ritual challenge because being a Hearthguard unit, you're going to get to roll 2 dice. And for each result of 4 or more, the enemy takes a casualty. And if you take a fervor, you get a +1 to the result of your dice, thus avoiding a casualty on your own figure. So that's a nice mix. And then the very last one is, we talked about this with Gaulish Fury and the ability to make your opponent lose the benefits of solid cover. So when you come in with a chariot, your opponent's going to have a little bit of a puzzle here. They aren't going to want to let me get that +1, right? But if they close ranks, they also know they're going to lose half their attack dice, and that my armor is only a 4, so maybe they don't want to lose those half those attack dice, and that they're going to have to make a trade-off if they want me to lose my +1 for charging with a javelin unit. So I think there's some nice synergies with Hearthguard in the Gauls and maybe even with chariots. And plus, they're going to just look cool. I mean, the rule of cool does apply here. So we'll see. If it turns out to be a disaster, well, I can always, I can just keep painting and come up with another wave. But I don't think it will. I think it will be, I think it'll work out okay. That's my first thought.
Plenty of bodies.
Right?
It's over 100 guys, Monty. Right?
Yeah, I might have to trade a few away.
Okay. Well, I might be in the market. We'll discuss after the recording here.
We could do that.
Something. Cool. That's awesome. Glad to see the chariots. So you could it's 2 for 1 point. You could do 6 chariots. Are you gonna?
Yes. So let me think.
Go mad.
2 figures, 2 Hearthguard figures gets you 1 chariot. Yes, you could ramp it up. I really wanted to, 3 was not the number I wanted. I really wanted 4 chariots. So, to get to 4, I had to buy a second box. Yeah. And, in for a penny, in for a pound. I'm like, fine. The warlord will be in a chariot.
Boom. Cool. That's awesome.
Or more. And I should say I have one other plan, obviously, with my tell on the Naked Fanatics. So I've painted 3 Gallic armies in 15mm, and at one time I painted Galatians without pants. They were all nude, and it's actually kind of like when you're all done, like the effect of like these colorful shields, the shock of hair, and like everyone being naked. It actually is like it's a pretty good look. So I think for my first warband,
paint's quick.
That's it. No plaids, no stripes. And I just need to I need to land on a very good scheme for skin tone, something that's fast and looks good. And you know what? Let's be honest. Those shields are huge. I can always kind of just nudge them just a little bit up there to give them a little bit of privacy, so to speak. And right?
No.
I think it's going to be good.
That's ridiculous.
That's my plan.
Awesome. That'll be fun. I think that's a solid plan you have there. Not really breaking the bank either.
No,
Wait,
no,
so
it's
just
very
four
affordable.
boxes, or was that five?
Yeah, I could have skipped the unarmored warriors, but Raj, I did like have an idea, like, with painting, that while they are naked, I thought it'd be kind of cool for some of them to have capes, and the capes would give me
Hmm.
a small place to do some fancy,
Yeah.
stripes and bright colors and sneak in some. So they didn't have capes in the box for the naked fanatics, but they did have like 4 capes per sprue in the other one. So I'm like, let's just grab that box too, add it to the mix, and that's how we ended up with.
Boom.
You don't have to get all that, but I wanted it, so.
Good to go. Well, that should turn out good. So those are en route. You're going to start working on those right away, you think, or do you
Uh,
think you're going to wrap up
as soon as they
these,
come in, as
these
soon as
months?
they come in, I want
Awesome.
to put this on the front burner.
I'm
No,
excited.
no
Yeah.
offense. The mutts can
Yeah.
pause. It's going to be a long winter.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Plenty of naked man bodies to keep you warm throughout the season, Monty. Shows well. Uh,
I
okay.
need a drink. What's your plan, Raj?
So the Carthaginians, as I
Right.
mentioned in the last couple episodes, are going to be where I'm going to start. So I've got the Numidian cavalry en route. So that'll be the start of the war band. And I mean, you gotta have them in there. Those guys were always there until
Yes,
I think the last one they turned on him, and that's
exactly.
when he lost it all. So got to get those guys. And it was interesting looking through everything. So one thing as far as army construction, um, it doesn't look like I need to specify like a contingent or citizen before beforehand. So I have one point of
Oh,
warriors. They could be, their equipment options are different.
yeah.
But I believe the way that it reads, it's not clear one way or the other, but if you're just extrapolating how Saga works, I think it's clear. I could have a point of, say, my Numidians, I have a point of warriors. And
Hmm.
if I had all the options, I could look over there and be, oh, yeah, the Numidians aren't going to be in it this one, and swap for like citizen warriors on foot. So I just thought I'd bring that up because once I was looking at it, I wasn't quite sure, but you could see somebody would want clarification on that, maybe an event or something. So maybe something for the fact, but I think that's wide open. But my
Yeah.
plan to start with is the Numidians cavalry. So a point of those guys, and then a point. I got to take the elephant, Monty.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's tough. The elephant I think can be vulnerable, but I think there's good abilities on this board
Yep.
to limit that. So delay is the ultimate, can shut down a unit for the rest of the turn. You have the blood price to soak up wounds. You have the redeployment. You can move away. So there's a few different tools you have to kind of
Right.
keep that elephant alive, which is too bad because I think the heavy chariots are just, those are so mean. Like I'll probably have to get them at some point. I mean, because the elephant hits pretty hard, but pound for pound, point for point, the chariots hit harder, and they have speed to boot. So you can just keep them. You just keep them till turn 4. Just sitting there,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
run across and smash. So
Yep.
that's kind of a shame. I think they could have put him in there and just used like the normal chariot. The same
Right.
rules for the Gauls. I didn't think they needed to
Right.
be that much hittier to represent that. So I was kind of mulling over that, but you don't think of chariots when you think of the Carthaginians. So we're going elephant. So that's 2 points down. And I was looking for the next point, and I really like the tenacity ability with contingent. So reroll 4 defense dice
Ooh.
on a
Wow.
contingent. So
Yeah.
that's a solid ability.
Yes,
Combo's
it
good
is.
with the Numidians because you're going to be taking some hits. I mean, so you can charge in, +1 hit, take it. You can also, I think, closing ranks on foot. That's a hell of a try to get through that defense, popping on 4s. Although you talk about the damage you've been doing here has kind of got me freaked out. I'm trying to think about that in the context of this board and what I was thinking here. I'm a little nervous about everything. But so I wanted some Gauls on foot. So a unit of 8 contingent warriors.
Nice.
And, I think there's 12 Numidian cav in the set. So I'll probably paint all of them. And then, I could see myself doing 9 cav, 7 warriors on foot, or flip-flop it, 7 cav, just keep it flexible.
Yep. Good play.
So after that, I was thinking about levy. Do I put them in? Do I leave them out? So the blood price is a great ability, and it works with levy. So that's can be the best bang for your buck, sacrificing 1 levy to save your elephant.
Huge.
So I was thinking, maybe I should get in there, and there could be a good combo just using archers or slingers. I got the 12-inch range, and then with the eagle eye, you can just add 4 attack dice on a rare. They don't benefit from cover. So I could, just one shot with 10 dice. Like, that's nothing to sneeze at. And they're not going to get any cover. I know there's some abilities that grant it. So I was thinking maybe I could do that. But, some of these other saga abilities. So one thing is they're not citizens and they're not contingents. So some of these abilities only affect citizens and contingents. So some of these abilities don't even do anything for levies. Like, they don't work. It doesn't get you anything. So coordination doesn't do anything. Combined tactics doesn't do anything. And then the other ones offer bonuses based off citizen or contingent. So it doesn't. You're missing out on a lot. But you don't really want your levies in combat necessarily, anyways. But you could take javelin levies with these guys. But so I opted out on this first run. I'm thinking I want to be moving the elephant forward as much as I can because he's a little slow. But you also kind of want to hold him back, though. You don't want to be the first way. I want to be the closer, so maybe off on the flank. And then I'll probably have the Numidians next to him to use blood price if I need to. So I ended up going for more warriors. So I just decided on more contingent warriors. And that'll probably be guys on foot, or it could be more Numidians, or maybe some Spanish. So I can just take regular cav too. So 3 points of warriors, 1 elephant, and then I just decided on to try 2 points of mounted Hearthguard, all in one basket.
Nice.
So the same things, the strategies that keep the elephant alive will also keep the Hearthguard alive.
Bingo.
There's no abilities to really get more dice for attack. So the couple attack abilities, you have to have attack dice to start with to make them go. So hitting on a 6, I can do double hits. So if I have the Hearthguard, I get more bang out of that.
Bingo.
When I'm rolling so many dice, I should get some 6s for sure.
Yeah.
Or, Sacred Band, I'll do at least 3 wounds for sure, which is the reroll. Successful defense die. So that's what I was thinking, that the Warlord has to be mounted. And so with that encirclement ability, I'll be able to activate basically 3 units a turn. The Hearthguard, the Elephant, Numidians, and then maybe my Warlord. He could be one of the 3. I could offer another mounted unit. So that's kind of what I was thinking there. So, and I think I am kind of leaning towards another Numidian unit of warriors, because you get some shooting, and then they hit hard with the javelins, and then tenacity is a natural combo with them. Because I think I need more than one shooting unit in like a combined arm style. Although I guess the elephant, he's doing some pot shots.
Right. Yeah. Shoot, kicking out 2 dice.
Yeah, so he could go 2. He could go to 4 if I popped Eagle Eye. So that's what I'm thinking. It's hard to envision, how it's more tricksy stuff versus this Monty's blood and slaughter of
Charge.
Man flesh.
No, this sounds good,
Rodge.
I like this. I knew this would be an interesting combined arms board, and it's interesting to hear your thought process. I'm looking forward to seeing him play against them or play for him on the table.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the last couple points were tough because I was thinking, well, okay, so I need the citizens on foot, just for thematic purpose that, the guys with the spear and the shield, kind of like the actual citizens of Carthage, But then that left 1 point, and I was like, well, I don't want to do 4 point, 4 Hearthguard. That's not enough Hearthguard,
Yeah.
And I don't want to do another point of warriors. That's not, they're on foot. It's going to be a slower army than, why don't I go for speed? We'll have to see how much shooting is out there in Hannibal. Didn't seem like being mounted was necessarily so bad. There's no crossbows, at least.
No.
Which is,
oh my gosh.
Crusades
no.
is keeping everybody honest with the crossbows, and
that is true.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I think the Carthaginians, you'll see a lot of mounted. Numidians will obviously be mounted. The Gauls, the heavy hitters, I think you do want those chariot. I think you do want them mounted. It's just the Romans and the Greeks. I guess for the Spanish, I know you were kind of looking at those guys pretty close. I mean, they have to be able to take mounted guys.
They can. Mounted warriors and mounted Hearthguard. But I think the meat and potato will be warriors on foot for them.
Well, then, that one ability to pick them up. Let's go, boys.
I love that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. So you could see a lot of cav.
Yeah.
Potentially. I mean, now that I'm just thinking out loud, there is no crossbows to kind of keep that in check. I mean, there's other things. There's not really that many javelins either. Although
you're not going to have...
The Gauls, you said, had an ability to throw. So the Romans have an ability to throw.
1 unit, yeah.
So maybe, I guess the Sarissas can poke.
Right. They poke you, but the elephant is terrifying to mount it.
Yeah,
just terrifying. 4 auto hits, right? -1 to my attack dice. I didn't want to go anywhere near that elephant with any of my stuff that was mounted.
It's going to be tough though to get him in because it's a medium then a short. So it's going to be a triple activation. If they don't end up, if they stay a foot away, which they can, it's going to be a triple activation to get him in there. But with the 4 auto hits, the -1, some of the Sacred Band here re-rolling 3 successful defense dice. It could be worth it. Just boom, boom, boom.
What it made me do was I had to put all of that stuff second line and wait for the elephant to get busy because I didn't want to send them in the first wave and then have the elephant who's in the second wave himself pick and choose who he's going to go smash.
Okay, yeah. Well, maybe I was thinking second wave on the Ellie, but maybe I'll get him up front there. Keep Monty honest. Back up.
Right.
Cool. Well, yeah, it's fun thinking about getting kind of juiced. Just talking about it here, thinking of the possibilities. Got me excited. I I'm with these oil wash. I'm excited to paint a horse. I didn't think you'd ever hear me saying that, Monty. But
right. Well, I want to see how it turns out.
I want to give it a shot. Yeah.
Nice.
So, okay. Well, any further thoughts on this? I think this was a good topic. Good idea.
Yeah, I think so. People do ask. There's a lot of chatter about what's a good build, and what are people doing, and what should I paint? What do I use to paint? And if you want to go beyond what we've done, you've pointed to it a couple of times. You've got your Saga Thursday Discord server. There's a lot of people in there who will help. Other people, help you out if you have questions about builds and options and what people are doing.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, let us know in the comments if you're working on Carthaginians or the Gauls or any other. Well, even any age. Why not? We'll throw it completely open. What are you working on? What are you building? We want to hear about your plans for this winter paint session. It's going to be a long one.
It's going to be long.
We'll get through it. So, yeah, I think that's good. I think we'll just call it here.
Awesome.
What do you say, Monty?
Let's call it.
Thank you once again. We'll check you later. See you people.
Saga!